Hello, my name is Greg Huss, and as you guys might know, I am one of the co-founders here of northsidebound.com, along with a couple partners. I am also the co-host of the Cubs on Deck podcast, newly released, one episode out with my co-host Brian Smith. You can find that here on the Northside Bound YouTube page, but today I'm trying something a little bit new. I recently posted this leaderboard that you're looking at now here of the Cubs prospect leaderboard. Every once in a while, I'll post something like this on my Twitter feed at Out of the Vines. But today I wanted to take a deeper dive, a quick look at some of these prospects that find themselves on this prospect leaderboard. This week, we're talking about the OPS plus leaderboard for the entire system. And before I get into some of the players here, let me first kind of explain what OPS plus is and how it's calculated, and I guess the meaning behind it to a certain degree here. So I actually have all of my spreadsheets. I basically pull information from baseballreference.com, pull them into my spreadsheets, and look at it in the context of the entire Cubs farm system and as it relates to Cubs prospects. So OPS Plus is a rate stat based off of league adjusted rates, right? So OPS, we're probably a little bit more familiar with OPS, which is on base plus slugging percentage, but OPS Plus relates it with 100 being perfectly average in a league, and anything better than that being 1, 2, 3% better than league average. Anything lower than that being worse than league average. So these rates you're seeing today are based on multiple leagues for certain players. You'll see Matt Mervis bounced around multiple different levels, but that is taking into account his performance at each particular level. So as you'll see, Matt Mervis kind of leads the way with 132. We'll probably lead off with that right away. Looking at the number one OPS leader in the Cubs farm system from the 2022 campaign was Matt Mervis with a 132 OPS plus. That is an exceptionally high rate, and he did that at every level he stopped at, right? He did that at South Bend, he did it at Tennessee, and he even did it up at the AAA level in Iowa. No denying how good of a season Matt Mervis had, right? He just soared up leaderboards, he soared up through the system, and at this point, he's put himself in a position to be the opening day starting first baseman for the Chicago Cubs in 2023. So shout out to Matt Mervis. He was the Cubs minor league player of the year this past season. And that brings us to number two, who is Pete Crow-Armstrong with a 127 OPS plus. Pete Crow-Armstrong was nearly as good as Matt Mervis at the plate this year. I actually voted him here at Northside Bound as my Cubs Hitter of the Year award. The reason why I did that was because his 127 OPS plus is only 5 points behind Matt Mervis. Meanwhile, Pete Crow-Armstrong also did that while playing a premium position in center field and doing so at a Gold Glove caliber rate. In addition to that, he stole quite a few bases. His base run aggressiveness was through the roof. Very good offensive season overall from Pete Crow-Armstrong, in addition to all the other things that he does well. Number three here, Alexander Canario actually edges out Jordan Wogu here at 121 by a few decimal points here. He had a 121 OPS plus this season, and really, if it weren't for Matt Mervis and Pete Crow-Armstrong, we would probably be talking a whole lot more about the season Alexander Canario had. Just really, really took off as far as his prospect status, hit for a whole lot of power, and that's really what's propping up this number quite a bit, is that big power production that he had at the plate. Talking about power production, we can go down to number four. Jordan Wogu at 121 really had an underrated season this year for the South Bend Cubs, right? He was a draft pick out of Michigan, out of a Big Ten school. And when he was drafted, there were a lot of concerns about his defensive abilities in the outfield, but also there were concerns about his swing pattern and his swing path. I think that he's kind of tinkered quite a bit with that. And now he's at the point where he put together a really, really positive offensive season. Now, he was a little bit older than what league average age was in South Bend, but you can't knock him for performing very, very admirably at the plate. Number five is Jake Slaughter with a 120 OPS plus. I mean, if we're talking about a guy that really hopped onto people's radars, Jake Slaughter is that guy. A 120 OPS plus after having previous seasons where he was nowhere near league average at the plate. This is a really, really positive season for Jake Slaughter, especially seeing as he played some second base, he played some third base, and we might be able to see him play some outfield in addition to that OPS plus at 120. It was a really turnaround season for Jake Slaughter, and I'm really impressed by what he did at the plate this season. If you go to the other side of this graphic here, numbers 6 through 10, we got that's leading off with BJ Murray with a 119 OPS plus. I really love this list in its entirety because you're seeing top prospects like PCA and Alexander Canario. You're seeing pop-up prospects like Slaughter and Matt Mervis. You're seeing some organization guys, but BJ Murray he's kind of trying to define what he is as a prospect so far. A 119 OPS plus is a really good place to start. He had done that between low A and high A levels in Myrtle Beach and South Bend. He posted one of the best walk rates in the entire farm system. He's a first baseman and third baseman. I'd love to see him hit for a little bit more power, but the rate at which he gets on base is absolutely astronomical. It's great to see that 119 OPS plus from BJ Murray. If you go down the list a little bit, you'll see 118 for Jake Washer for an OPS plus. When we're talking about organization, guys, you kind of put Jake Washer in that category. He's not a guy that is going to be found on any top prospect list, but he really had a strong season, and that was led by a really strong power output. And we know that the OPS stat as a whole, just the normal OPS stat, can be really elevated by big power numbers. We've seen that with Matt Mervis, Alexander Canario, and we're seeing that with Jake Washer. The contact skills aren't quite as high with Jake Washer, but when you hit for the kind of power that he did in a smaller sample size than some of these other guys, that's where you see that OPS plus at 118. If you go down next, you're looking at Kevin Alcantara, who at a 115 OPS plus had one of the strongest seasons in the farm system, and he really showcases probably the highest ceiling of any prospect that the Cubs have. His 115 OPS plus is not adjusted for his ballpark factors, right? That's another thing thrown into this OPS plus mix, is that ballpark factors are not included, even though league rates are, which kind of helps Kevin Alcantara's 115 OPS plus here. Pelicans ballpark is an incredibly difficult place to hit the ball. Getting the ball out of the ballpark is so hard in that sea breeze coming off the ocean out there. And for him to put up a 115 OPS plus is absolutely incredible. Throw in the fact that he's a teenager, and it gets even better. We'll go down to another guy that was a product of the Myrtle Beach Pelicans, and that's Ezequiel Pagan, who I think Ezequiel Pagan with a 115 OPS plus is not getting enough notoriety, not getting enough publicity, because really what he did out of the leadoff spot for a good portion of the year in Myrtle Beach and out of the 3-hole from Myrtle Beach for a good portion of the season, he was the Pelicans' most consistent hitter from day one until the end of the season. And that included a team that saw Pete Crow-Armstrong, Kevin Alcantara, James Triantos, a lot of really top prospects. I think he should be getting some more mention in the top prospects in this farm system. I'm really excited what he can do once he reaches South Bend next year. The final guy at number 10 on this list is Jonathan Perlaza, who had a 113 OPS plus. I really like what I've seen from Jonathan Perlaza over the past few years, really just greatly improving more and more with each season. This year, he's actually a minor league free agent, so he's in a little bit of a situation where he can go and sign with another team. Now, Jonathan Perlaza was not on a huge list of names that have elected free agency as a minor league free agent. So there's rumors and rumblings that he may have already agreed to a successor contract with the Chicago Cubs. I would love for that to be the case because he brings a really nice mix of limiting strikeouts, having a lot of walks, and really increasing that power production from an outfielder spot. He's a switch hitter. He's going to act as MLB depth in the higher levels of the minors, probably in AAA next year. And really, he will get a chance to run in the major league level starting in 2023. So I just wanted to do this kind of new system here as far as digging into the stats. And OPS Plus was something that I already previously put out on Twitter, so I wanted to kind of share with you guys. Nothing too crazy with a long video here, but I feel like these guys needed mentioning in terms of their offensive output and their in a lot of cases their power production in this past minor league baseball season. So if you guys want more information, you can follow me on Twitter at Out of the Vines. You can look for more stat sheet stuffers on that crazy website that is Twitter, because I will be there posting plenty of content, and I'll probably be back on this YouTube page with more stat information in the future. Thanks, guys.